Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Stephanie Jackson. She is a founder of Practical Sanctuary, and we'll learn from her about how sensory interior design supports neurodivergent individuals, enhances focus, and fosters healing. Welcome to the show, Stephanie.
Thank you so much, Ajay.
Welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Stephanie. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll learn from you how designing spaces for, about designing spaces for neurodivergent well-being. But before that, let's learn a bit about you, your background, so that people know who they are listening to.
Yes, I got to this completely accidentally. I started out as a professional fine artist with 2 art degrees. I founded alternative art spaces in New York City and in San Francisco. I designed my own artist residency in Mexico and wrote 2 art blogs in New York City in the mid 2000s. So I was completely about the art and the creativity. And I was the kind of artist that got all my furniture out of dumpsters and everything secondhand. I didn't worry about money, or I did worry about money, but I found ways to earn just enough money to paint most of the time and to write and to create. So one of the ways I did this was getting a license as a massage therapist. And I became very interested in healing and alternative healing because it became clear to me that the healthcare system was not adequate. It was not treating many conditions in the way they needed to be addressed. So as I am making the art, I am also working with clients, and I became an accidental expert in how the human nervous system responds to the space around you. Because while I was in New York City, it was right after 9/11. I was working on Wall Street at a chiropractor's office, and I was trying to help people calm down and relax 100 yards from ground zero with construction equipment and jackhammers right outside the window. And your nervous system cannot relax when there are things all around you that are telling you you are in danger. So this seemed obvious to me. I didn't think much about it, but then when I founded a gallery and artists would come in and want to put their art in the gallery, they couldn't seem to see how their work was being perceived in the space. They would want to put their work in a place where it was not coming across the way they wanted it to. So I came to understand that organizing the environment is incredibly important for perception. Now, flash forward to 2008, the economy melts down in New York. I had my daughter. Her dad was in the financial industry. He lost his work. We had no money. We ended up having to move into my mother-in-law's basement in Philadelphia in 2010 with absolutely no money. And at this point, I had seen behind the scenes in the New York art world well enough to understand that there was not a place for people like me in the art world. It was corrupt. It was rigged. It was not about the values that I was living. It was not about healing. It was not about connection. It was just about grifting. And so I was at rock bottom. I had committed my whole life to being an artist, and it did not have any meaning for me anymore, and it wasn't taking care of me. So I started learning business skills. And after a couple of years of treating my massage therapy business like a real business, my clients started asking me to do designs in their spaces. They said, Stephanie, I love that painting. I love how your space is set up. Would you do that in my place? And I said, no, I'm sorry, I don't make art anymore. And they said, well, I'll write you a check. And I said, I make art. And I discovered that connecting my clients' needs with their space and their vision, their idea, and my skills with design, with color, with light, with space was what I was born to do. And so many things that were obvious to me about how the environment was set up by default, by contractors, by architects, by business owners, was not working for a lot of people. So my business evolved out of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Now, let's understand from a common person's perspective. We do know that when we visit a particular place, particular space in our house, flat, whatever it is, apartment, there are some places where you want to spend a lot of time, but
Yeah.
some places, several months, you just don't, you feel,
just
you
avoid
know,
it.
that you have never been to. People understand this connection but don't know how to explain it. We'll come to the neurodivergent part of it after this, but
Yes.
for general people, how would you want them to understand human understanding of their spaces, in whatever way they see it, know it, but don't understand it? How would you want them to understand, because you know about it?
Yes. That's a really good question, because I find myself working with my clients with this exact issue. I talk and they say, I think I need you to come into my space because I don't understand design. And when I go in with them, I see that they may not think they understand design, but they do have taste. They have preferences. They have things they like and things they don't like. All I have to do is ask them, how do you feel about this thing? How do you feel about this object? Tell me more about this thing. They will tell me a story. And with my design skill, usually what I have to do is just point out what they already know and validate what they already know. They're like, yes, this thing stresses me out. I don't like this space. It's stressing me out. I can't figure out how to deal with it. And I can look at the space and say, okay, it's out of proportion, or it's echoing in here. You're not comfortable because the acoustics are not good, or those colors are not working very well with the light from the windows. It's things that I have spent decades learning the technique and learning how color and light work together. So I can explain, they can say, I'm uncomfortable and I don't know why. And I can say, okay, I see why you're uncomfortable, because the light, the color, the layout is not working. And then all we have to do is shift it. And then I say, okay, how do you feel about that? And we work collaboratively. So what I want to tell you is that you already know what you need. Sometimes you just need to be a little bit of a shift.
Absolutely. So why is it that one space, two or three people, they have different feelings, reaction to the same
Yes.
space? One will love it, one will
Yes.
hate it, the other does not know what to do.
Yes, absolutely. That is because our nervous systems are all different. We tend to behave as though we're all people, we're all humans, and so we're all going to have the same reaction to a space or to a thing. That is not true. Your nervous system is wired according to your genetics, according to your experience. That includes how your brain takes in information, what kinds of information your brain takes in, how it processes and prioritizes that information, and your past story. the traumas that happened in your past, the experiences that you had that were good, that evoke positive memories, all of the sensory information coming at you right now is landing on those pathways that your brain created in the past. So two people, even with similar nervous systems, but very different temperaments, personalities, and past narratives, are going to respond very differently because of those past narratives. And then when you layer in the fact that some people's nervous systems are so different from the average that we would call them highly sensitive or neurodivergent, they're going to be perceiving things around them in a radically different way than the average person.
Right. But if these same three people go to a coffee shop, they like that whole atmosphere at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a preference of a particular sitting arrangement or seat, or but overall they like the overall feel of it. Why
Yes.
is it so if everyone's nervous system is so different?
We are community creatures. We are meant to live together in relationship, and we need to be able to connect with the people around us. When our environment enables us to connect, that there is comfortable seating, that there is natural light, that there is enough noise that we feel safe and comfortable, but not so much that we can't hear one another, we're going to tend to enjoy that environment. Now, there are still some people whose brains cannot track a conversation with a lot of noise around. So that's what I mean by neurodivergent people. Some people just simply need a much quieter, more contained environment to be able to connect with other people. But in general, humans need spaces where we can connect with one another, and all of the design needs to support that connection.
Absolutely. So two things here. As general people, what can we do? Apartments are apartments, buildings are buildings, you can't do much about it. Your
Yes,
space, whether bought or rented, it's
yes,
your space, you can't do much about it.
not too
So
much.
what is it that we can do? And for neurodivergent here,
Yes.
how should we look at them? Means even as a general person who thinks he's okay, he or she is okay, they
Mm-hmm.
don't like, I don't like too much of music anywhere. Means if I want to talk, or
Yes.
even if the music is too loud, maybe if it's
Mm-hmm.
in a store or something, that light music is okay. But sometimes in a restaurant, if I feel that the music is too much, I need to tell them that, listen, this is going beyond my sensory level. Maybe for some
Yes.
people it is okay. So how
Yes.
do we make sure, with whatever means, little means we all have, do we make our spaces
Yes.
amenable to us, to
Yes.
everyone within the family or
That is
society?
that is the question. And as a former artist who has lived in a lot of places without a lot of money, I can tell you that I have rearranged, repainted, added noise buffering to a lot of different places that I rented or was even just staying like as a hotel. Once you understand what your own nervous system needs, and you can do that, I have a free e-course on my website, and I'm coming out with a book soon about, first of all, identify what's going on with your own nervous system. We tend to assume that our own bodies are the same as other people and we're responding in the same ways. But when I take you through some questions, you can start to figure out, like, wait a minute, like I think I'm really sensitive to sound, or I think I'm sensitive to texture, or I don't like this kind of lighting. First of all, you need to know yourself. That's the first step. Second step is assess your own nervous system in relationship to the surroundings that you find yourself in. I have rented apartments where I walk in and there was gray industrial carpet that was nasty. There were light fixtures that were horrible. The layout was really difficult to use. There were bad smells from former tenants. I figured out what was bothering me the most, and I figured out cheap ways to solve it. With some of the bad fluorescent lights, I discovered that if you just staple some pale muslin cloth over the light, it will filter that light. It will make it nicer. Or just don't use the light. Tape over the light switch. Bring in a plug-in light like a torchiere that reflects off the ceiling, and adjust the lighting so that it works for you. Same thing with the carpet. I just got secondhand rugs that I liked better than that industrial carpet, and I put it over the carpet. Same thing with color. They tell you, the landlord says you can't paint. I say, you are living in that place. It is your home. You get to paint it. And usually you can repaint when you move out, or pay the deposit, forfeit your deposit. Your quality of life is more important than your landlord not wanting to repaint after you move out. So I can take you through, also there are resources on my website which take you through how to choose a color for your space, how to test it, how to see how you respond emotionally, see how it works with the ceiling height and the natural light in your space. These are all low cost, high impact things that you can do to control your space. I can give you more examples, but I know that we have a limited amount of time here.
Yeah, but very quickly, Stephanie, in case, people don't want to first spend money, try it out, and then see it's not working.
Yes.
What's the best way to, try it out before? And
yes.
How does it work?
Small changes before big ones. There's a layout app called Planner 5D that is free or very, very cheap that you can use to do a digital map of your space. You can move your furniture around in the app. You can actually use a hex code for a paint color that you're thinking of trying out. Put it into the app, see how you respond to it. If you want to change a wall color, don't paint the wall yet. Just get a piece of cardboard and put the color that you're thinking of on the cardboard and put it on the wall and live with it for a few days. Use things you already have. Recycle. If you've got textiles, if you have fabric just in your closet, drape it over the furniture. See what that feels like. See what it's like to live with that energy, that color. I really like to help my clients figure out what they already have that they really love, that they can create their space around a thing that they love, and then organize the space so that everything is giving that same energy, so that it's all coherent. And that does not have to cost you very much or anything at all. I have helped clients that told me, like, there's nothing I can do. I don't have any money. I don't have any space. I said, send me photos, send me measurements. I put it into the layout app. I rearrange it. They rearrange it. Done. They're like, wow, I didn't think I had the space to do this, but I did.
Absolutely. So, Stephanie, now let's come to neurodivergent people. Are they more sensitive towards these things, or it is just our perception? We are sensitive to one thing in one way, insensitive to another, but sensitive to again something. I may be sensitive to color, another person may be sensitive to the furniture around, third person. What is it about neurodivergent people, especially about spaces?
Yes. Every neurodivergent person is different. If you've met one neurodivergent person, you have met one neurodivergent person. That is one of the reasons I take you through each sense in my book and my e-course, so you can assess which of your senses are typical, which are highly sensitive, and which are hyposensitive. less responsive than other people. Neurodivergent people's brains are structured differently so that there are things that a neurodivergent person might be acutely aware of and many other things that a neurodivergent person is not aware of at all. So, first of all, just assessing no matter what is the key, and then adapt for each sense and each person. And there is a lot about creating boundaries. If you are a highly sensitive person who's very sensitive to noise, and you have a child who is neurodivergent and is undersensitive to noise, we call that sensory seeking, that they're always like wanting a lot of noise and wanting to shout and that kind of thing. You need to create some boundaries where your child maybe you have noise canceling earphones, or your child has a place with noise buffering that they can go and make noise and have their earphones on so that you don't have to absorb it. So it really is about understanding yourself and the people around you, and then adapting for what everyone needs.
Right. You talked about senses, Stephanie. What are the major senses that are at play? General people as well as neurodivergent. But I believe since everyone is different, how should we look at senses? Hearing and what else?
Yes. So hearing is a big one for particularly spaces, for buildings. Most of our buildings these days are designed without a lot of acoustic buffering. So they tend to be very, very noisy. And when we live in a crowded environment, a big city, we're going to get a lot of noise from the street. We're going to have sirens. We're going to have people shouting. We're going to have music. We're going to have pets. It's going to be really chaotic. That is one that I see the most of, that has the biggest impact. Sometimes people who have very sensitive hearing just have to get a really good set of noise canceling headphones. That's going to be the only way they're going to be comfortable. There are other things you can do about it, but your other senses, we have more than 5 senses. Our kindergarten teacher taught us that our senses are hearing, sight, taste, smell, and touch. Now, as a massage therapist, I know that we have way more than one sense of touch. We have vestibular sense, which is our balance. We have kinesthesia, which is our sense of movement. We have different receptors for things like vibration, light pressure, deep movement. All of those senses can be more or less sensitive. And when you're someone who is really on the edge of the spectrum in terms of one of these senses, it can make things that other people aren't perceiving are really going to bother you, like a real high-pitched whine or a deep vibration. Something like that is going to make you really uncomfortable. And learning to, first of all, trust yourself enough to say, look, I am perceiving this thing, and insist that it get addressed. Sometimes you just have to remove yourself from the situation. I have known neurodivergent people that were in an apartment, and there was a vibration coming from the next building, and the landlord was not going to fix it because they couldn't perceive it. And they would just keep fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting for years. And meanwhile, those are years of your life that you're miserable. Sometimes you just have to find a way to go somewhere else.
Absolutely. Find a way to go somewhere else. But here we have got many solutions, including that in your upcoming book, The Eccentric Genius Habitat Intervention. So
Yes.
tell us a bit. Is it out? Is it yet to be out?
It will be coming out later this year, probably September. To get on the list for when it comes out, you can just visit my website, practicalsanctuary.com, and sign up to be on the list. You can also follow me on LinkedIn or on Instagram or Facebook.
Absolutely. So, what have you discussed in this book? Who is this book for? Is it for everyone? Is it only for neurodivergent?
No, it is not just for neurodivergent people. It is a manifesto and it is a how-to guide. So it is relevant whether you are neurodivergent or neurotypical. I talk about how the system of capitalism has made it difficult for all of us just to be who we are in the world. That capitalism is taking our creativity and keeping us running in a machine that was not designed for our individual well-being. And I talk about how all of the cues in our environment are sending us messages that either we don't belong here or we are safe. Once you start noticing those messages, what do you do about it? So I take you through each of your senses. I take you through how to assess those senses, and then I give you action items, inspired actions for how do you adapt your environment for each of those senses. It doesn't end there. A lot of self-help books, it's just about how do you help yourself, your individual self, but human beings need community. That's why you're doing this podcast. You want to connect with other people. People need to connect. So it is not just about how do I get my own little space perfect, but then once I've opened up my bandwidth, once I understand myself better, once I've built better boundaries so that I can function, then how do I connect with the people around me? How do I connect with like-minded people? And how do I start getting together with other people and making changes to systems that are causing all of us so much stress?
Absolutely. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you so much.